It would not have occurred had it not been some willing participants who are here today. Women who shared their personal stories or biographies with me to be included in this book entitled The Souls of Our Mothers. And the reason and the motivation behind the book was out of a deep-seated respect that I have for these African American women, most of whom were a part, their families or them personally moved here during the Great Migration, which is a period in history where there were over 6 million African Americans that left the southern region of the United States to migrate to other areas in the north, the west, and the east. I am just so grateful. I don't want to sound like I'm making a speech, but I just want to say I'm just grateful that I've had these women who have helped me to become the woman that I am today. And my goal in writing the book was to share some of their stories with you, the community, so that you would see the value in each of us taking ownership of our personal stories as being significant and relevant in our African American history. We don't have to be Dr. Martin Luther King. We are all historians. We will all leave a legacy when we leave this earth. So it is important that we embrace one another, respect one another's stories, wisdom that we've learned through our living, and be willing to share with the younger generation, which is, you know, when you're a writer, most people want to know, who's your target audience? That's one of the questions that you're asked. Who's your target audience? Well, I've kept it kind of secret up until this point, but I'm going to tell you who my target audience is. My target audience are the younger people, millennials and even younger. Younger people who may not realize today that the wisdom that the old folks, the people with the gray hair have, is gonna be relevant one day. The wisdom that they have, things that they've learned that can be passed down, where you may not value them right now, but my target audience is hopefully you in the room that will get the stories and read them, will share them with your younger children, grandchildren, nieces, nephews, neighbors. Because at one time in our culture, that's what we did. Our parents told stories, told us about our kinfolk, told us about the personalities that they had, told us about the struggles that they had, and how they overcame some really tough situations. So these are the stories that we stood on. These stories undergirded us as we stepped into life, went to schools, went to universities. I didn't go to university, but I did work in a community. And those stories that I had learned early was what kept me strong in the midst of adversity. Things that my mama had said. We used to call them common sense. Have common sense. Don't talk too much. Have good manners. Remember to say thank you. Be respectful of older people. Do not disrespect them. Say excuse me when you step over someone. Those lessons that we were given were the things that inoculated us against the world. We were able to take those lessons and go forth and do what we needed to do in life. So I thank you all for being here today. I thank Mr. Nunley, Jim Nunley and his wife for coming in. I met Mr. Nunley years ago at Park College. He doesn't remember me, but I think he remembers Zenobia. We worked together. He was a student there at the time, and all of the ones that have come out, special guests, James F. Cameron, a classmate from Lincoln High School. To introduce to those who do not know me, I am Minerva Warner, and I'm a proud African American woman, as you can tell. I'm proud of the family that I came from, who were Southern people. We migrated to Missouri in stages, and that's what a lot of the families did. My family moved here in 1954. I am the daughter of a very strong African American woman who lived to be 98 years old, Willie Seal Cup, and I am proud of the fact that she taught me to have common sense. She gave me mother's wit.
Mother wit.
Some people would have described her as a country woman because once she migrated to this area, she never tried to act what they used to call cityfied. She remained a country woman. She was a day worker. She worked in people's homes, cleaning and things like that. She was a single parent who had migrated from the state of Mississippi, leaving an unhappy marriage with 3 children. The year was 1947. I was 1 year old. Segregation and Jim Crow laws made it easy for Willie to get up out of Mississippi. She wanted a job, an education for her children, and freedom. Clutching their hands, she boarded the train and forged ahead, carrying faith, hope, and a little grit in her crawl. Willie's move out of Mississippi happened during a period in history called the Great Migration, when approximately 6 million African Americans left the South and moved north, east, and west in search for a better life. The women who are featured in The Souls of Our Mothers represents Kansas City, Missouri's African American women whose families moved to Missouri during this time in history. A story is an account of past events in someone's life. A biography is an account of someone's life written by someone else. History, the study of past events, particularly in human affairs. At this point, I'm going to make reference to someone's statement when it comes to telling stories. And maybe you may remember who this is if I tell you her name is Michelle Obama. This is what Michelle says in her new book, Becoming. Even when it is not pretty or perfect, even when it is more real than you want it to be. Your story is what you have, what you will always have, and it is something to own. And that's what we do. We own our stories. We own our successes. We own our progress. And we do not let labeling and the news accounts define who we are as a culture. Our stories tell you, our stories of success tells us who we are. And that is what this event is about. That is what this book was written to do, to lift up our community and to spread the stories that present us in the truest way. And I thank you again for being here. Now, let me tell you the benefit that you have in reading this story. Let's start with me. I'm the writer. I decided to write this story, this book to share these stories. But in doing so, I was thinking about the benefit that the stories would have on the people that read the stories. Little did I think that I would be changed by interviewing these women and hearing their stories. I wasn't thinking about me. I was thinking about how the public would take the stories. But I have been changed just by sitting, and there are people that did not make it today that are part of the book. But I have been changed. I have met some beautiful women who have shared their lives with me, and I'm trying not to cry right now because I'm so grateful for it, because it has given me another layer of knowledge, understanding, other stories, other victories, other experiences that has been shared with me, which I'm very thankful for. So the benefit for me as a writer is that I have learned, and it has awakened in me a curiosity to go back down to the Kansas City Public Library downtown in the Missouri Valley Room, I believe it is, and read stories about African American people. The stories are there, the books are there. So this project pushed me to do things like that and to read other books that have been written about us and our movement to the north. One of the books is called The Warmth of Other Suns, written by Isabel Wilkerson, a very good book that was written about the Great Migration. Okay, as a writer, I have benefited. The people in the book, the people that are featured in the book, how have they benefited? Well, what I believe has happened is that it has given them an opportunity to talk about relevant facts that have taken place in their lives. things that they wish to share, messages that they wish to impart on the public. So they have benefited in having the opportunity to spread these stories. How has it benefited the family of these people? The families have something that they can be proud of. They have a loved one that is featured in a published book. So therefore the family is esteemed. They can have this book on their coffee tables and be proud of the fact that they have a family member. As a community, how will you benefit from this book? This book, in my opinion, is considered to be Black history by those who will see its value. It represents local women's stories and pictures, which brings their stories to life. It will promote interest in our stories and the importance of recognizing our successes. So thank you so much. I believe that you all will enjoy it. And I thank you, Sister Grace Scott Golden. Thank you for being a part of this event. Thank you for presenting yourself always in a very professional way. One of the things that I learned from you is that your father taught you when you were very young, and your siblings,